For more on what the Georgia Senate runoff and a possible shift in the balance of power could mean for the markets and the economy, we're joined now by Jason Trennert, chairman of Strategas Research Partners. The NASDAQ's down a little bit today. Jason, the S&P and the Dow sort of taking everything in stride. We've pointed out and tried to analyze leading up to the election why there wasn't more angst. And we decided maybe stimulus. If it's not a divided government, you'd have more stimulus from Democrats. Not the political will to go way left because of the realization that it's such a narrow margin. I mean, it's so, it's 50-50 if it turns out that way. 50-50 in the Senate with the vice president-elect breaking things, and only 4 or 5 seats in the House. Is that what's happening?
Joe, I don't think it's the latter, to be quite honest. And I think just some of the early moves in the House, I don't think don't give me as a conservative a lot of hope that there's going to be a lot of restraint if the Democrats pick up 2 seats in the Senate. In 2001, George Bush 43 had almost precisely the same setup. Let's say the Democrats pick up 2 seats. We had 50-50 in the Senate, a narrow majority in the House, and he still got a $1.3 trillion tax cut through, no child left behind, higher defense spending. So even if it's 50-50, I think there's going to be a strong tendency to kind of go for it. Especially because there's going to be an element of time, which is say you have 2 years to get your agenda through before the Democrats have to start worrying about how able they are.
All right,
to
so
me,
what is that?
What's going on is largely about interest rates and the dollar in terms of what's happening this morning.
Well, if you manage money, so would you worry about ending the filibuster? That could usher in a lot of legislation if that were to happen. Do you think that's going to happen?
I don't know, but I do think, again, I think some of the early moves and some of the rhetoric, and hopefully it dies down, hopefully it calms down a bit if the Democrats were to pick up two seats in the Senate. I think a lot of things would be on the table, at least from a headline risk point of view, which would be statehood for Puerto Rico and D.C., filibuster, packing the court, a lot of those things which might make people feel somewhat uneasy. But I'm not a political analyst. I'm a market guy.
The Dow's up 90. That sounds like the end of the world for you and conservatives, Jason. And the Dow's up 94 points. Why?
Well, I think, again, it goes back to and Joe, going back to what you were saying, I think there's an expectation, which is correct, that there's going to be a lot more spending. And you have to remember the House, the initial offer on the table after we passed 3 fiscal stimulus measures was $3 trillion. And then we got it down to $900 billion. But if the Democrats were to pick up 2 seats, there's no question in my mind that later this year, there would be a sense that more spending is needed. That may be true if the Republicans pick up one of the seats as well. I don't think there's a lot of fiscal sobriety on either side. But I think that's the fear. And I think tech stocks, generally speaking, are being priced as if long-term interest rates are going to stay negative in real terms in perpetuity. And I think there's a reevaluation of that now. So that I think what's happening this morning, Joe, my own opinion, is that this rotation out of growth and into cyclicals or into more value-oriented stocks, I think that is what's being reflected this morning. And of course, we don't know until we know. But I think that people are starting to inch that way.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.